Hello and welcome back to Unknown Audio, or greetings if you're new to the channel. We're doing something a bit different today and we're doing a build video. Now, all of this footage was filmed quite some time ago, probably even a couple of years ago, but it's taken me some time to edit the footage down into a concise format for you to watch. Now, this is something a bit different for the channel. I do enjoy lots of different creative activities, not just making music, and so I thought that might be of interest to some of you other creative types out there. This is a headphone stand build. I wanted a headphone stand. I had some offcuts of wood laying around, so I decided to give it a go. This isn't a tutorial video. The design was very much bespoke and was largely informed by the materials that I had available, which were offcuts of wood and a few bits of sheet copper. So it's a very bespoke design, so it's not a tutorial on how to build this. I'm no expert, I am very much an amateur. So please do not take any of the information in this video as instructions on how you should approach a build like this. Safety is of paramount importance, your safety, and there are probably plenty of times in this video where I am not observing correct safety procedure through my own ignorance. If someone wishes to comment below and point out ways that I could work better in this regard, please do. But please remember that your safety is the most important thing. So, all that being said, hopefully this is going to be an interesting video. I hope to do more build videos in the future. I've got one in the works. I'm just waiting on some parts. So if you like this kind of content, why not give it a like, comment below, subscribe to the channel, or not. It's up to you. Either way, let's get into the build. Okay, so the form of this build was really determined by some offcuts of wood that I had. I had one piece that formed the base. There was another taller piece that made the trunk, I guess you could call it, or the upright of the stand, and then a smaller piece that formed the arm or the branch, if we want to carry on with the tree analogy. It kind of formed the arm that the headphones actually rest on. I sort of drew something out onto the wood and used, a pair of headphones to roughly work out the kind of dimensions. Obviously, if the headphones are being suspended, we need enough room for them to be suspended without, touching the desk or whatever they're resting on. So this worked out quite nicely. This was not something that I planned, sort of drew out in meticulous sort of detail beforehand and then found the materials to fit that. It was very much the other way around, where I had some bits of wood and then I figured out what I could make using those. I find this way of working much easier, having a physical object in my hands to work from, kind of like a sculptor, I guess, almost, starting with a lump of marble or whatever it might be, and seeing the final product within that, and then trying to help that emerge through various, often frustrating processes. So right now I am just prepping a lot of this wood, planing down the surfaces, trimming them to rough dimension. I'm not sure what this wood is. Unfortunately, I'm not very knowledgeable when it comes to identifying wood species. If anyone can tell me, please let me know. So here I'm just tracing out the curve of the main upright support, trying to visualize what I think would look aesthetically pleasing. There is a lot of sanding involved in this build, as there is with most woodworking projects, to be honest. I have tried to cut this down as much as possible because you don't really need to see hours and hours of sanding, but it is a necessary and very useful part of a build. It's quite a slow, methodical and reliable way to get flat surfaces, I find. Much more so than with some bladed tools if you don't have very sharp blades and, you know, great skill. It's a bit more of a foolproof method, and it does cut down on the possibility of making a drastic error, or worse still, causing some kind of physical injury. So I hadn't properly considered how I was going to attach the top part that extends out from the upright, but I decided to cut an L-shaped type notch in the upright section to fit the armature, and I thought that this would also give me a good opportunity to insert a couple of pieces of copper. I bought a job lot of copper sheet material, lots of offcuts, at a very reasonable price, and I still have a lot left. So I have been using it in all kinds of builds. I've built knife handles and the like, but I think it gives a really nice look, and I quite like the combination of wood and metal. Not always the easiest things to work in combination with one another, especially when you're trying to abrade them and they want to sort of abrade at different rates, and the metal wants to discolor the wood, and etc., but it gives a really nice finish. So I'm happy that I tried to include the copper in this. The other piece of wood here is an old decking beam, or an offcut of it. I'm not sure what the wood is. It's very hard, has a very pungent, very distinctive smell. I've tried to look online to try and figure out what this wood is, but I'm none the wiser. My intention was to use it on the side of the upright as a contrast to the main wood. As it turned out, the decking piece I had was only just long enough, or about the same kind of size as the height of the actual upright, and because of the weathering, the heavy weathering on one end of the decking, I decided not to use this material and use something else instead. I did use some of this wood on a couple of other little parts, so you will see it making a reappearance later on. So at this point I was trying to chisel away some of the waste and remove at least the bulk of it. I then moved on to using the very, very useful Shinto saw rasp, which really helps to take material away very quickly, but allows you to control it. I did, however, forget that my hand was also in contact with the teeth of the rasp, and I chewed away some of my palm. But anyway, I also used a belt grinder, which I'm just showing in the background there, a very cheap belt grinder. It did a great job in this instant. So I guess it's back to more sanding. But not before I remove the notch from the main upright. However, using noisy saws, causing lots of vibrations for the camera. Still, we'll call this an action shot, shall we? So now with that piece removed, hopefully you can see how that the armature is going to seat into there once I smooth it and flatten it all properly, and it will create the necessary sort of shape to house the headphones. So here I am using a chisel, probably not observing the best technique ever. I have been bitten by a chisel and it is not a fun experience. So please, if you're thinking about doing something similar, just take every precaution. It really does help to have very sharp tools. Sometimes that kind of sounds counterintuitive because you think the sharper something is, the more likely it is to do you damage, which if a very sharp tool comes in contact with you, it will do more damage than the blunt one, generally speaking. But it does mean that you will have far greater control because the cutting edge will be cutting much easier, much cleaner, and you will have to exert far less force. If you are having to exert a lot of force to get it to cut, that is when you can slip, and that is when you will likely cause yourself an injury. So regular sharpening is recommended, but as always, just be very conscious of what you're doing, be very thoughtful, and be very present. If you allow your mind to wander, if you operate a tool while you are in a less than agreeable mood, if you are somewhat stressed or agitated by something, probably best that you wait until you're in a much more zen-like frame of mind. So at about this point, I realized that the angle was very much off between the upright and the angle of the arm where it was going to attach. I decided against trying to chisel that angle in, and instead took to sawing as much of it away as possible. Obviously, I was having to saw a taper, which essentially sort of disappears to nothing. So it's difficult to get it right, but it's a far easier way to remove a lot of material. It may not be as accurate, but it's a lot quicker, and it's accurate enough that then you can finish off with chisels or sandpaper and the like, files, that kind of thing. And at this point, unbeknownst to me, my camera fell over. So next it was time to move on to cutting some copper. Here I'm using a very cheap multi-tool, and it's not doing a bad job. It's taking a while with one of those little cut-off wheels. Unfortunately, my technique leaves a lot to be desired, as becomes catastrophically apparent rather soon. There it goes. So, time to move back inside, where I can use a vise and actually hold the workpiece properly. Work holding is especially important if you're trying to do anything, especially when you're using power tools. I know this is a dinky little thing, but even so, if you're using any kind of power tool, you really need to have good work holding. The same is true with hand tools even. And I decided to finish this off with a hacksaw. So I'm just preparing to do the glue up, and I've prepared an offcut from earlier, which I'm going to use as a little clamping block to give me parallel surfaces, so that I can actually use the clamp and to get some pressure during the glue up. However, I'm conscious that this still may slip around during the glue up, and I decide to add some locating pins, for which I need to drill a couple of holes. And when drilling metal, even soft metal like copper, slow and steady wins the race, unless you want a bazillion broken drill bits. Then I'm just roughing the surfaces up in preparation for the epoxy, just to key the surface and give it some more grip, hopefully. Then I drill the pilot holes in the actual wood, and I'm using some toothpicks as the locating pins. Very useful toothpicks. And this should stop it sliding about when I'm gluing it up. So here I'm just mixing up some epoxy resin, 2-part epoxy. I believe this was the 5-minute stuff. But then to add a little bit of mystery to this build, I decided to apply the epoxy out of shot. And so there's nothing left to do than to clamp it up, which is often easier said than done once the glue actually goes on. And then we can tighten it up, just check everything and leave it for as long as we need to. Probably a little bit longer than 5 minutes. A little bit of a clean up. and we can call it a day. Hi guys, so off camera I've basically added this other piece of copper to this side, very much in the same way that I did this piece here, except that because I had quite a lot of copper to remove on one side particularly, I ended up using my angle grinder, which did the job, and it was fairly quick to remove a lot of the material. But what I was afraid might happen did happen, and this piece delaminated. So instead of epoxying that back on, I decided to use CA glue. I knew that the rest of the time I'd just be using hand files and sandpaper and that kind of thing, so I didn't figure there was much danger of it delaminating again. But anyway, so a lot of filing, a lot of hand sanding, and we've got that. So now I need to attach that to here. So I'm probably just going to super glue that in, drill through, put some rods in, fix that on, and then I'm going to probably use a saw to try and take these sides down a little bit, and then it's going to be more sanding and filing and all the rest of it, I think. So yeah, let's do that. I am an idiot, aren't I? No! So, at this pivotal juncture, we will bid farewell to part one, as our protagonist struggles to free himself from his self-inflicted bondage. But stay glued for part two. I'm double stuck. So I think this is a good place to wrap up this video. The next part will be coming soon, so please stay tuned for that. If you've enjoyed this one, click like and subscribe for some more. See you again soon. This is how not to do it, kids.